This conference will now be recorded.
Hi all, welcome to the session. Hope you all can hear me. I'm sharing my screen. Please let me know once you can see it.
Visible.
Okay. So previously we have discussed on the macros and constants and all the stuff, and we have seen how to work with them. Okay. And I told you that today we'll be starting with the object orientation. Okay. So see here, in object orientation, we have a concept of class. Okay. And I'm getting a lot of noise here. I'm muting everyone. And in the let me create a class first. Click on the add button and then a new item. Here you can see there is a class. Okay, now we know about the runnable class. Use it to just if you want to work with a simple job or a simple piece of business logic, then we are going to use the runnable class. And if you have some big business logic to write, then we will create a class. Okay, and I will call this class as ICI arithmetic operations. Okay, the name of the class is ICI arithmetic operations. And in this ICI arithmetic operations, we will define some arithmetic operations like addition, multiplication, subtraction, all those stuff. Okay, just a second, it's loading. Yeah, it got loaded. Now what I will do is I will create two methods, public, and I will return the integer, and addition. This is one of the method, and I will say int, or let me say, so see here, if you are creating a variables at the scope of a class, let's say int a comma b, these both are called as global variables. If you are defining a parameters at the scope of a class or the variables at the scope of a class, we'll call them as global variables. By default they are private in nature. Okay, we will see what is private public soon. Now here in this int add, I'm going to simply return a plus b. Good, done. Similarly, let me write one more method, public int, and then this is the method for doing the subtraction. And what I can do, I can simply say return a minus b. Oh, now I told you a and b. But what about this a and b here? How to assign the values to them? We have not assigned the values. To assign the values to them, there are multiple ways. Okay? There are multiple ways. And from that, the first way and the preferred way is to use the parameter methods. We need to say public integer param a, and in the bracket int underscore a equal to a. Okay, now you can see I have added parameters to the method. You can say underscore a is one of the parameter, and by default I am assigning it to a. Okay, if you are doing a assignment while adding parameters to the method, we will call them as optional parameters. We will call them as optional parameters. Here we will simply do a equal to underscore a, and then return a. So what will happen with this method is, if you pass the value, it will take the value. If you don't pass the value, it will return the existing value. That is what this parameter does. Okay, we will call this as properties in case of C sharp. We will call the same thing as properties in C sharp. Similarly, we can do for the same thing for the next variable. Okay, I can say int underscore b equal to b, and then we can say b. Oh, I don't know why. Okay, let me call this as b equal to underscore b and return b. Okay, and now let me save this. Oh, we got the error here. What is this? Parameter denotes a method and cannot be reused in this context. Oh, in a class, if there is one method, it is not allowing me one more. Okay, let me do one thing. I will try to write one more parameter here. Okay, or let me add one more parameter
Parameter
here.
method name. Param B.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Okay. Actually, you can see the parameters, number of parameters are different.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. I want to add one more parameter and I want to check whether it is working or not. But can you see here? It says already parameter is there. Okay, what is this called? Overloading. I am trying to overload with the same method and then with a different number of parameters. But it is not allowed in D365 Dynamics AXOR. Okay, because in AX 2012 as well it is same. So in AX 2012 or Dynamics 365, it is not allowed. Okay. Now I have created two things here. One is param A and param B. We call this as a param method. This is very good. I told you there are multiple ways we can initialize. What is the second way? Let me create two more variables int c comma d. So for each and every class, we will have a constructor. In case of, I can say other languages, what we will do is we will create a constructor using the name of the class. But let's see how to do that in case of Dynamics AX. Let me open this in the designer mode. And you can see there are 4 methods here. Right click, click on the override, and then click on the new method. This new is called the constructor. What do we call this? This new is called the constructor. Okay. If you think you want to pass the parameters here, what you can do is you can say in the new int underscore c comma int underscore d. Okay, new is called the constructor. And then what you can do here, you can simply write c equal to underscore c, d equal to underscore d. But what is the problem with this? If I assign the values here, I can't change them back again. Is that right? Okay. The super is used to call the parent. I am writing the super here. Okay. Now the values once assigned cannot be changed back here because during the instantiation, you can add the values. Later on, you can't change the values. But coming to the parameters, you can update the values. Okay. This is just like insert, no update. Okay. You can insert the values. This is just like this is insert and update. Both of them will work. Okay. Remember. Now, even the constructor as well, as part of the object orientation, we should not expose it directly. The constructor should be either protected or private. Means construction should be available only for that particular class or to the child classes, not for all the classes. What should be done? So in that case, what we will do is we will create one static method. We will say public static and then ICI arithmetic operations. Okay, this is called the return value because when we will define it as a static, if there is no dependency of this one for the class methods, okay, and you want to do something else, okay, you want to write a code where there is no dependency, then you will go with the static methods. So you can do with construct and then you can say int underscore c comma int underscore d, and then here we need to write return new ICI arithmetic operations in the bracket. You can see now it is expecting 2 parameters. Okay, constructor you are going to use new here and not the name of the class. Please remember that. Okay, and then you can say underscore c comma underscore d. Okay, this is how we will do this. This is how we are going to work with the constructor. And similarly, there is one more thing called destructor. What is a destructor? The purpose of the destructor is to destruct the code. That means what are the objects that you have created? Nah? If you want to destruct them, then you need to use the destruct. But please remember, for destructing, we have a method called finalize, and this finalize method will never get called implicitly. Okay, you need to call this explicitly. I am writing super here inside this. Okay, and then what I will do is I will write one more method I will call it as public void destruct. Okay, and then in this I will call this dot finalize. Okay, even the destructor should be protected. Okay, please remember this should never be available outside them. Okay, now within a minute, oh, it's not allowing, it wants it to be public only, it seems to be. Okay, because it will get called from backend, it seems. Okay, okay, this thing we need to remember. Okay, now this should be public all the time because seems like it is getting called from the backend as well in this scenario. So this should be public, and then anyone can destruct this. So there is no need of using this. Directly we can call object.finalize. Okay, so this is the concept of a class. Okay, so this is how we are going to create the constructor and then the destructor and then the methods and then the properties. Okay, this is how we are going to work with this. Now I want to test this class. How to do that? To test this class, create a new item and then runnable class, and I will call this as ICI test classes. ICI test classes. Click on the add method. Done. If you click on the add method, we are done here. Okay. Now here, let me create it. I can write ICI arithmetic operations and I can access it. But before that, we have created C by CD now. We will create two more methods here. Okay. I will say public and I will return the real this time and I will use division in the bracket, nothing, and then I will simply say return C by D. Done. And similarly, let's say I want to use one more for multiplication. I will create a method for multiplication. I will pass int underscore e comma int underscore f, and then here I will say return underscore e star underscore f. If you want to pass the parameters and manipulate the parameters, you can do that. Okay, but if you want to manipulate like this, now you can write this piece of code directly in your wherever you need. Okay, there is no need of creating a method to do this. Okay, please remember this. Generally, if we sometimes I saw the people doing this, but this is not needed at all. If you want to write like this now, you can simply write this one statement in your code itself instead of calling a separate method. Okay, please remember. Now I say arithmetic operations, and then here I can call it as arithmetic object equal to, let me try and ICI arithmetic operations, and I will say 1 comma 2 enter semicolon. Oh, what is this? Yeah, it says the constructor for class is not visible in this context due to the protection level of the class. Okay, so remember, whenever you say this, it is protected. What is protected? As I told you, there are three specifiers here. What are those? One is called private, second one is called public, third one is called protected. We will call them as access specifiers. Okay, what do we call them? We will call them as access specifiers. There are three. One is called public, second one is called private, third one is called protected. Okay, so I will explain you in detail about them within some time. Now this is how we create it now. So as it is not accessible, what I need to do? I need to use the construct method. So how to use it? To call the static methods, you need to use the class specification colon construct. This is how you need to use. Okay, and this is C. I will say C as 10 and then D as 2. Done. Next, I have the earth object dot. If I use dot, I can call instance methods. So if you see here, I'm instantiating the class. What is the meaning of instantiating the class? See here in your class, you have the data and methods. you need to bind data and methods together and allocate some memory, because if you need to process them, you need memory. Is that right? If you need to process them, you need memory. If I give you the apples, if you want to keep that apple somewhere, you need a basket. This memory is like a basket. Okay, so if you want to place them somewhere, you need to have some place. Similarly, for variables, what do they need? They need memory. So here, once we instantiate the class, that memory is allocated to that variables, and then the methods will be stored at a particular region. Okay, the methods will be stored in a region where they are accessible to us. Okay, remember. Now what I can do, the next step is earth object dot, we have two methods, param a, and then for param a I will say 10, and then I have earth object dot param b, for param b I will say 20, and then now this is one more way. I told you that there are multiple ways now. One more way is, let me do one thing. I will say public int f comma g, or ef already I have used, so I will use g and h. Okay, these are public. Okay, these are public, and let me try making it protected and see what happens. Done, save. Okay, these are public. Now what I will do is, in this test classes, I will try to assign values for them. Okay, if I use this dot a, oh, not available, sorry, not this, earth object dot a, not available, b, not available, c, not available, d, not available, g, can you say this? This is what is public. Public means it is accessible to everyone and everywhere. Okay, public means by using the class instance you can call them from everywhere. If it is not static, please remember only the instance variables. Okay, g equal to, I will say some 25 as the value, and I will say earth object dot h equal to 35. Done. I have assigned two variables to them. Okay, save. We are done. Now I have assigned the values. The next step is call the methods. Okay, I will use info strfmt, and in the bracket I will say addition is %1. I put $1 comma earth object dot add. Done. This is one method, and similarly you can use earth object dot sub. This is for subtraction, and you can say subtraction is, and the third one is for multiplication. You can say multiplication is %1, and then earth object dot mul, and here you can say 12 comma 4, and then division is comma div. Done. Okay, now let's see how does it work. Oh, in division has something else going wrong. 1 second. Oh, we have added as division, I think. Division, I think this is the name of the method. Okay, done. Now you can add a breakpoint here. We will debug and we will see line by line what will happen. Okay, now I want to add a breakpoints everywhere, here, here. And at the end, I want to call the finalize as well, because I want to show you something special here. Earth object dot finalize. Semicolon, save. Okay. Now let me set this test class as a startup object, and we will see how it will work. Okay. Run.
Is there any specific reason we defined construct method instead of new? This work can also be done
Yes,
with new.
as part of the object-oriented programming, you should never expose your constructor to the other classes. Okay, you need to
Okay.
expose it to the same class, or it should be on the other. That means child classes. Okay, which is why I made it protected.
Okay. And in construct method, we are returning the new object of this class.
Yes,
Return new.
yes.
Okay. Okay.
This is
And
how we.
why? Yeah. And why we call super in new protected void new as it's
Let's see that.
is there any parent of that new method also?
That you need to say. What is the parent of that new method? Let's see that. Okay, you will understand. Because there is one specific reason. Okay, if you know about the object-oriented programming language, then you will know that. Because here, even if you write or doesn't write in the new method, it will work. But there is one specific reason.
Default constructor with no parameter.
You can't do that here. I showed you, na. You can have only one constructor here. You can't have multiple.
Okay.
Nice. It says you are not authorized to log in with your current credentials. What is going on? One second. Let me check. Which credentials did it took? Well, what is this here? Can you say this? Seems like they have imposed some restrictions on my account. Okay. I think this is the new thing that I'm seeing. Six eight six six nine four. The same user, it said you are not authorized to log in. Okay. The same user, again, it is trying to log in now. Let's see what happens. Because none of the changes are done from mine, frankly speaking. Okay, good. But it did not take me to where I need. One second. Let me stop this and return. Okay, now you can see here it has hit the breakpoint. Oh, still it is loading. Let's wait for a minute. Let me press F11, and then it is calling the constructor now. Let me press F11 again. It went into this one. It has assigned the value for C. Okay, and then it has assigned the value for D. Now it is calling the super F10, and then it came back. Now it is assigning the value for G. You can see here the memory got allocated for the constructor. Okay, but G and H is not assigned with any values now. Okay, the values are assigned for G and H now. Now the values will be assigned for A and B as well. Okay, so depending upon the requirement, we are going to define either as a global variable, global public variables, or either as a parameter methods, or either we will pass in a constructor. That depends on the requirement. Okay, now it is adding the methods. Now it is subtracting. Now it is multiplying the result. Now it is dividing. This is finalized. Okay. Okay. This is what I want to show you. What does finalize does here? What does finalize do? The destructor should destruct the things. Okay. That means it should clear the memory. But whereas in case of dynamics AX, we have something called lazy binding. Okay. So whatever the variables that you have kept will stay in the memory itself. Okay. For that, in one of the project we raised a bug, and even you can also try it. Okay, you can create a simple job. In that job, create a list, loop through the list for 10 lakh times, and then add some class object and add some data to it. Okay, you will see that the size of the AOS service, the size of the AOS service will get increased like anything. Run it on the server side. The size of the AOS service will increase it like anything. And even when the class scope is finished, you will find that the memory is not released. The memory will not get released in AX 2012. That's a bug. Okay, and it's still there because we call it as a lazy binding. I don't want to call it as a bug. Instead of calling a bug, I want to call it as a lazy garbage collection. I will call it as a lazy garbage collection. Lazy garbage collection in the sense they want to clear the garbage only when AOS is free. You might ask me, oh, why? What is the purpose of clearing when AOS is free? Because let's say you have 1,000 requests every minute. To process the 1,000 requests, it is going to take a lot of time. Yeah. If it keeps on cleaning the garbage, it is going to take the whole time to clean the garbage itself. The processing time of the request will get increased, and it is going to process. The processing time will get increased, and the performance will get dropped. So what they have done is, even for the garbage collection as well, they are going to clear that garbage only when the application is free. Okay, but unfortunately, okay, in one of the project, what happened is that lazy garbage collection was a big issue because AOS is never free. The size of the RAM is 96 GB. Please remember, the size of the RAM is 96 GB, and the application object server has occupied around 91 or 92 GB of it. Okay, in one of the project, because we are doing a performance testing. When we are doing a performance testing, we will have the XMLs of size 400 or 500 KB, and we are trying to insert them like anything. You know how the performance test will run. We have inserted 10,000, 20,000 at once by using a load runner. So what happened is at the end, we found that the size of the AOS got increased and it never came back. And obviously, AOS got restarted automatically. Every few days, okay, during the performance testing, every 2 or 3 days we used to find this issue. Okay, at the end we observe this one. So please remember, the garbage collection is called lazy garbage collection. Lazy garbage collection means whenever a service is not doing anything, then only it will do the garbage collection, and in all the other times it is not going to do anything. Okay, please remember that this is very important. Okay, because most of the times people will, what they will do is they will call the finalize and they will think everything got distracted and we are good. But finalize is not doing that. Okay, please remember this. Okay, this is about the concept of a class and how to work with the constructor and how to work with the destructor. And if you want to clear explicitly, you need to use null. You can set object to null, then the memory will be cleared off. Okay, please remember. But in the avoids, whether it will clear or not, it should, but we need to see because I haven't tried that. Okay, this is about how to work with the parameter
How did
methods.
you solve that problem of that performance?
For that performance problem, actually we raised a ticket with Microsoft. They have given us a patch specific to that project. That's a
Okay.
kernel patch. That's not the application patch. That's a kernel patch. And in that kernel patch, they are clearing the garbage continuously.
Okay.
Okay. From the application end, you can't do that because it depends on how much data you are processing. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now this is one more thing. Next, I think you understood what is a class and how to create a methods and all these things. Now the second step. Now you know what is a constructor, what is a destructor, what is a static method. Okay, and then overloading it's not possible, and you know what is the optional parameter. Now I want to move to the next step, and I want to start with the inheritance. Okay, now you have given this arithmetic calculator. The customer was very happy, and he is able to perform all the arithmetic operations, but these arithmetic operations are not sufficient for him. He want to go with the scientific operations now because his requirement has changed. Yeah, frankly speaking, the customer will continuously change his requirements. Okay, the customer will continuously change his requirements. He told that arithmetic is not enough. I need, I need scientific calculator. Now, if you want to create a scientific calculator, there are two options. Scientific means logarithmic and exponential operations. If you want to create a scientific calculator, how many options are there? Two options. What are those? Option number one, create a new class and add the arithmetic and scientific operations in it. Option number two, already you have the arithmetic calculator. Simply extend this arithmetic calculator and create a scientific calculator. If you create only scientific calculator, then it will take less amount of time. If you create arithmetic and scientific, it will take more amount of time. So what do you prefer? We prefer only scientific then. But actually, I need arithmetic and scientific operations in it. That means the scientific calculator should be defined in such a way that it will inherit all the properties of the arithmetic calculator. It will inherit all the properties of the arithmetic calculator. Okay, now let's begin. Now I want to create one more class. Click on the add button, new item, and then I want to create this class and I want to call it as ICI scientific operations. Okay, also I want to see the default scope of this term. Okay, because I will always forget few things. So let us see whether A and B is accessible or C and D and G and H, what are accessible and what are not. Okay, let's see that. Now if you want to inherit the properties of the arithmetic calculator, arithmetic operations in scientific operations, we need to use a process called inheritance. What is it? Inheritance. Inheritance is the process of inheriting the or acquiring the properties of one object in another object. Now I will use these scientific operations. To use inheritance, we use a keyword called extends. Please remember, to use inheritance, we need to use a keyword called extends. To use class inheritance, we need to use a keyword called extends, and then you need to provide the class name. ICI arithmetic operations. This is my class name. Okay. Now what I need scientific. So I am directly creating a variable, public, real, and then I will call this variable as I. GH is finished, so I want to call it as I. Or let me do one thing. Let me try defining it as G and check whether it works or not. Oh, what did it say? It says the field G is already defined. It's saying the G is already defined, so you can't use it. Where it is defined? It is defined in the parent and it is public. Okay. Now actually I have two more variables. I have four now. Let me write it as A, public, real, A. Oh, it says an item with the same name as field A is already defined. Okay. And then let me define C. Okay. Whatever the object, whatever the variables that you have in parent, it is not allowing you to define the child here. Okay. So let me take I. Okay. Public real I. And then let me write a constructor, or before that writing a constructor, I want to open this in the designer mode and check. Okay. Open designer and right click on the override. Oh, can you see this? Now I got all the methods. Okay. Now I got all the methods. Okay. Now let me do one thing. You can see all these methods now. I will go to arithmetic operations, and here I will make this multiplication as protected, and let me save this. And then I have one more method called what is this? Division. I will make it private, and I want to see. Okay. Multiplication is protected. This is private. Now let me go to scientific operations. Right click, override. Where is multiplication? I can see this here because this is protected. Division not there. So what does it mean? What does it mean? Here it throws the error. Multiplication is protected, division is private. What does it mean? It means in the access specifiers, the first one is public. Public means accessible everywhere. I want to define in the same class and then in other classes. Sorry, I will say child classes. In child classes, and then I want to define in other classes. Okay, in the same class. Accessible in child classes. Accessible because it is public. Yeah, it's like public telephone booth. Anyone go to that telephone booth and they can call them. So it is accessible everywhere. Okay, public is like public telephone booth. Anyone go to that phone and then they can make a call. Next one is protected in the same class. Accessible in child classes. Accessible. Protected is like the landline phone in a home. That landline phone can be used by all the people who are inherited in that family. In other classes, it is not accessible. Someone else can't come to your home and make a call. Okay, this is protected. Third one is private. Oh, private is like your mobile phone. Will you give your mobile phone to anyone? No, it is not accessible in child classes, not accessible in other classes. Okay, not accessible. Done. This is public, private, and protected. This is how we use. Okay. Now we know what is public, private, and protected. So I want to come here and I want to make them public for the time being because I'm using them in a lot of places. So let me make them public. And this one as well, public. Okay. So done. Now the next thing, I will go to scientific operations and I will define public, real, logarithmic, and then in the bracket I will say real underscore I, and then here what I can do, underscore sorry, real I not needed. I'll simply return. Okay, I don't want any parameter, and I will say return. In this log, you have base 10 and base A. I'm taking log base 10, and then you can say I. Done. And then you can define one more, public, real, exponential, and then you can say return exp based on in the bracket I. Done. Okay, this is we are going to work with logarithmic and exponential. Okay, logarithmic and exponential. Okay, now I want to write one more myth. I want to first of all see one more thing in this, because going further to perform the arithmetic operations as well, I am going to use scientific operations because it is inherited. So what I need to do? I need to define the constructor. Let me overwrite a new. Oh, can you see the difference? If I am using a new, it is saying int underscore c and underscore d. Did I add it? Oh, let me try one more thing now. I will say int underscore e. I want one more parameter. Okay, I want one more parameter. Int underscore e underscore d underscore e. I got it. Okay, so constructor I have overloaded in the child class. Please remember, and in the child class I will make it public. You can do that. Okay, and then you can say I equal to underscore e. Done. This is one thing that you can do. The next step in the exponential, I want to use the child class methods or child class variables. For that, I need to use something called this. I'm using this dot. Yeah. Oh, that means I got it now. Yeah. I think I told you it's private, nah. That's what is the confusion. These are not private. These are protected by default. By default, variables are protected. Okay. In other languages like C#, they are private. But in case of X, Dynamics X, they are protected. Please remember that. I forgot. Okay. These are by default. If you don't specify anything, they will be protected. Now I made them private, and I want to try with this dot. Now A and B is not visible. Okay. If you want to make them private, you need to explicitly write private. Otherwise, they will be protected. Please remember. Next, C, I can access. D, I can access. G, I can access. Okay. Please remember, you can access the other variables. This is about access specified, private, protected, public. Done. Now this is my scientific calculator. Now my customer came up with one more requirement. Adding two numbers in the arithmetic is not enough. He wanted to add three numbers. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to take this addition, copy, 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 or you can try doing one more way. What you can do is right click on the override, add. Here what it has done, it has given the return, super, and all these things here. Very good. So what does this super will do? This super is going to call the arithmetic operations here. Okay, let's see. Now here in that, what I will do is I want two more parameters. I will say int underscore k comma int underscore l. I want two more parameters and save. What is this? Huh? It is throwing the error again. Parameter 1 underscore k must have a default value. What does this mean? This is saying that you cannot overload even in the child classes. If you want to overload in the child classes, you need to define optional parameter. You need to define optional parameter. Okay. If you want to overload, there is only one way, by using optional parameters. And overloading in the same class is anyways not possible. If you want to overload in the child class, then you need to use optional parameters. Okay. So here what you can do is you can simply say return plus underscore k plus underscore l. This is what you can do. Okay. If the customer wants to add two more parameters, then this is what you need to do. Now you can see the super here. This super will call the parent class method. This is about the inheritance, the concept of inheritance, and the concept of access specifiers. Okay. Now let me add a breakpoints in all the places. Okay. And then let me simply copy this up to here and let me comment this out. Okay, and the inheritance is at the single level. We will call it as a single level or simple inheritance. We will call this as a simple inheritance. I am using the ICI. What is the name? Yeah. Okay, it's not giving the intelligence. Don't know why. Let me copy and paste it. Okay. Now you can see it is throwing one error saying that one more parameter is needed. I will say 20. Save. Done. Okay. Now the parameters are set. Okay. Now you can see there are no errors anywhere. Now again, what I can do is I can simply copy this and then I can call earth object dot logarithmic earth object dot exponential. Done. Okay. This is how we will work. Now let me add a breakpoint here, and then I think I have added the breakpoint in the constructor here as well. Good. Now let me rerun and we will see how it will work. Okay, let's see that. It has hit the breakpoint now, and I think is it loaded? Okay, let's wait for a minute here because it's not still showing the data. Let me clear this off first of all. Okay, yeah, now it has loaded. Now let me press F11. It will go into the scientific operations. Where is this constructor? Here. And then now I have the super. It will call the parent class constructor, which is arithmetic operations. Actually, the super will call the object, but even if you don't write here, nothing is going to happen. Please remember that. Okay? That will call the super of the object, but even if you don't write, nothing is going to happen. And then here, parameter A is getting assigned, parameter B is getting assigned. You can see the arithmetic operation methods are getting called. Can you see this? Now you can see add, it went into the super. If you don't define that optional parameters, it will throw the error. And then if you pass the optional parameters, it will add, it will give the total value. Done. And now subtraction, division, multiplication, division, logarithmic. It is calling the logarithmic, exponential. It is calling the exponential. Got it? This is how we work with the simple inheritance. Okay? This is how we will work with the simple inheritance. Okay, now it's your time. Please let me know if you have any queries. I want to break here today, and then I want to come up with multiple inheritance tomorrow. Okay, so that you can just check, go through the classes and practice. Any questions? If there are no queries, I will end session for the day. Thanks all for the session. Let's meet again tomorrow same time. Thank you all. Bye.